If you want to increase your ability or the length of time that you can stand on one leg, either because you want to improve your confidence with walking or you want to return to higher level activities such as running or being able to step over a curb, then this video is for you. If you're new to this channel, I'm Tara. I'm a neurologic physical therapist, and on this channel we talk about anything and everything related to mobility, health, fitness, and mindset in the context of neurologic injury, with the end goal of empowering you with as many tools as possible to take ownership of your rehab and live an overall more active, more mobile, pain-free life. And in today's video, what we are going to go over is how to increase the length of time that you can stand on one leg. So for some of you, I've done a lot of videos on how to just build your confidence, on how to improve your stance control, which is how I refer to it quite a bit. But this video is actually geared for those of you who want to increase the amount of time. So the goal for everyone, for normal, to be considered normal, is to be able to stand on one leg for 10 seconds. So especially if you're someone that's interested in returning to running, this is something that you want to work toward. So the biggest reason why most people can't stand on one leg for a long period of time is because you're falling back onto your other leg. So we're going to go over into several reasons why that might be happening, but that's primarily what we're going to cover in this video is our skills to, or exercises to help you improve your single leg standing for those of you that feel like when you pick that leg up, you're just falling back down onto your stronger leg. So there's a few reasons why this happens, or that I think why this happens. The reason I'm going to go through this is because you really do need to self-identify with which reasons or potential root causes are contributing to your inability to stand or contributing to the fact that you fall back down onto that leg, so that you can focus on the most appropriate exercises for you. So number one reason why most people fall back down when they're trying to stand on this leg is because someone is not centered over the leg that you're standing on. That is number one and most important, is learning how to center your center of gravity, your body, over one foot. So there are going to be some exercises today specific to improving that. So if your leg falls back down, I would get in front of a mirror and make sure that your belly button is centered over your foot. If you get your belly button centered over your foot, but you just feel like you cannot pick that leg up, like it will just not come off of the ground, well, that might be due to the fact that you can't pronate your foot. So a lot of you that supinate, if you get your center of gravity over that foot, you are just going to fall to the side. Like I'm on the outside of my foot right now. My foot is supinated. And if I try and get my center of mass over that foot, I'm just going to fall over. So if that's you and you get your body centered over that foot and you feel like you're falling, stand in front of a mirror and look at your foot. Is your foot supinated? If that's the case, then you need to work on pronating your foot in standing, which we're going to go over today. So again, we're just trying to identify where you're at, or I'm helping you to identify where you're at so you know what exercises to focus on. So first, center of mass needs to be centered over that foot. Second is that to stop yourself from falling back onto your strong leg, you have to look at your foot and make sure that your foot is flat. If it's not, you need to work on pronating your foot. The other reason why this might happen, that you just fall back down onto this leg, is because you have what we call a Trendelenburg gait, or what happens when you lift this leg up is you have some hip weakness and your hip drops out to the side. Well, you can see what happens is that throws the force back over in this direction in a lot of cases. And so that's why you might feel like you're falling. If that's the case, really need to work on hip strengthening. I have a lot of videos on this channel for this specific problem, this Trendelenburg gait. and I will link a couple of those videos in the description below, but that's something that you will need to address. It might be addressed in a couple of the exercises today, but you really need to get that hip a little bit stronger first before you start working on trying to increase your single leg standing time. If not, you're just kind of setting yourself up to fail because, again, your body is going to be thrown off quite a bit. And then the other reason that some of you fall back down onto the side is just because the entire leg is weak or you're afraid your leg is going to buckle. So if that is you, then you have to work on knee strengthening. If you are someone where your leg is constantly buckling, that just means that your knee is not strong enough to stand on that leg for any length of time. And so keep strengthening that knee to eventually be able to stand on this leg for 10 seconds, which is the goal. Now, in addition to just increasing the time, you really do need to build what we call like dynamic balance, meaning that you should be able to reach outside your base of support without falling. If you can't, that just means that your muscles just don't know how to work together in these different positions in order to be able to stand on one leg. The reason this is important, especially if you're someone that's trying to return to running, is when you come across uneven terrain, or if you just want to build your walking confidence, you really do need to be able to handle, your body needs to be able to manage if someone bumps into you or things like that. So in addition to just increasing the amount of time you can stand on that leg, we are going to throw a couple of exercises in there where you do need to work on the hip, keeping the hip stable in different positions. Extremely valuable, again, if you're in that higher level. But hopefully that all made sense, and hopefully that will help you to know which exercises in this video that we're about to do are the most beneficial for you. And now let's go ahead and dive into those exercises. So exercise number one, and probably the most valuable exercise you can do, is learning how to position your center of mass, your belly button, over your foot. Now, I always recommend starting with a chair because it'll set you up for success, especially if you're someone where your foot supinates or you just don't feel comfortable getting that far over on your foot, to help you really feel secure with the chair, but know where that middle line is. And then you just want to hold it. So again, you want to be about probably like a fist away from the chair so that you can shift your body and your belly button is directly over your foot. And then you're just going to start by what we call tandem standing, where your feet are in a straight line. I always recommend starting there. It really, really, really does help you to figure out how to get your body lined up over your foot. And then once you can get good at that, the next thing we're going to jump right into is doing a toe tap. I like something that's not very stable. You can use just like a paper cup because that'll help you to not put pressure down on that leg. If you use something more solid, there's probably a good chance that you're still going to have a lot of weight on this leg. If you feel like that thing is tipping over or you're crushing it, that probably means that you're not shifted over enough. That is the number one issue that I see with most people, is you're just not centered over that foot. So very, very, very important skill to get. And then you just want to be able to hold it. Now remember, we still have this chair over here, so it's giving you a little bit of stability. So some of you might be able to go 3 or 5 seconds having that stability over there, relearning how to center that body over the foot that you're trying to stand on. And then next, to really, really get good at standing on one leg, is just standing with your feet crossed. So you want the leg that you're working on in the back. And again, this is for those of you that don't like to get on the outside of your foot, either because you can't pronate, so you're supinated and that throws you off balance. The reason you have to get good at this is you have to feel really comfortable stepping across midline, so that when you do stand on that leg, if you go a little bit too far this way, that you can step across and you feel confident. So some people, the reason they stay a little bit to the side is because they know that if they lose their balance this way, they really have no support over there. So very, very valuable, just learning how to stand with your feet crossed. And then what you want to try and be able to do is just do a little reach for the ground, almost just like a little bit of a knee bend or a little bit of a squat with your knees bent and then standing back up. That's also very challenging for a lot of people, is just with the feet crossed and having all your weight on this leg. It's a whole different ball game. So you're just learning how to get all of your weight on this leg, bend those knees, and then back up, gaining a little bit more control in all the joints in this leg. So feet crossed, little bend, and back up, little bend, and back up. Now, this exercise right here is specific for those of you that your foot is supinated or you can't pronate your foot. Like, you don't have the control in your ankle to pronate your foot. So again, I think it's worth repeating. When you're supinated, or you don't have the ability to get the inside of that foot down on the ground or get that arch of the foot down on the ground, if you get centered over that foot, you're going to fall to the opposite side, which is pretty scary for a lot of people, again, because you don't have anything over there to help you balance. If that is you, then I like this blackboard. This little piece of wood is pretty expensive. I will put a link for it in the description below, but I just recently worked with a patient. They actually made one and it worked really well. Again, it's just a piece of wood. I will put the link if you just would rather buy it, but they just took a piece of wood and they just put a dowel on the bottom of it. But you do need something small. Someone recently asked about like the wobble board. The wobble board, it might be a little bit too big if some of you have like a balance wobble board. So having something small, starting with your foot supinated, so see how it's tipped to the outside, and then just work on pronating that foot. You have to have the ability to get that arch down, because in most cases, when you're first learning how to center your body over that foot, you are going to, it's going to throw you that way a little bit to the outside of that foot. Really got to figure out how to bring that weight to the inside of the foot. The other thing this is good for teaching is getting your knee over the arch of the foot. So that's another little cue that I give people, or I have people do, or some of my patients do, is that you really do want your knee kind of in line with your big toe. That will also help to kind of keep that foot grounded and keep the entire bottom of the foot in contact with the ground. So there's a variety of reasons why some of you, your knee's a little bit to the outside, but if your knee's a little bit to the outside, again, it's going to decrease the length of time for most of you that you can stand on that leg. So again, got to work that pronation if you're trying to return to running or just increase your standing time. So dropping that bringing that arch down, and then trying to stand on one leg, or at least just minimize the amount of weight that's on this leg. I don't even think I could do it just standing on one leg. It's pretty hard. So if you need to put this foot down a little bit, but again, just working on bringing the arch of that foot down towards the ground. One other variation that you can do is, this is just a half foam roller. And again, you can just practice single leg standing. I love a corner because it gives you some safety nets on the sides, but again, trying not to let that foot go to the outside. Your body's just gonna have to work a little bit harder to bring it back in. So really, if you are trying to increase that single leg standing time for activities such as running, doing something on a unilateral unsteady surface, so not something that kind of rolls like a ball, but something that just goes in one direction. And then again, just trying to stand. Now you can see I'm even shaking, my foot's shaking a little bit. That's okay. Every time your ankle looks like it's fighting, you're actually building the strength in it. So highly, highly, highly recommend this. Even if you can only do it for a couple of seconds, you're developing all of the muscles that you need to be able to return to like a firm surface and increase the amount of time that you can stand on a firm surface. And then now, for some of you that have been around for a while, you've seen me do this activity before, but to increase single leg standing time, it's absolutely one of my go-tos that I do with almost everyone. I love this. So we're just going to do cone taps on the cones. Now, the way that you increase the amount of time is you start with just tapping your toe on one cone. And then if you want to increase the time, you try and do 2 cones. And then even more, try and do 3 cones. And then what I recommend for this one, remember I said we really need to prepare also for just movement around that hip, stability in different positions, is that you vary it up so that you don't just go down the line, but actually force yourself to go back and forth between the cones. Try and get all the way across midline and then all the way to the other end. That's my favorite one to challenge people with. It is pretty hard for most people to go from one extreme to the other and adding that rotational component. So again, you want to go from one extreme back, and then usually I have someone go closer and then closer. But again, you want to be able to stay balanced on this leg as you're adding a little bit of a rotational component. All right, and now for this one, this is the leg that we're working. What we're trying to do now is kind of reach outside your kind of what we call like your limits of stability. So you want to be tapping. This is the leg we're not necessarily working. This is the leg we're working. What we're trying to do is kind of get a little bit off balance and being able to bring your center of gravity back over the center of your foot, and you're just going to tap. So if this were a clock on the ground, I really like working like 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, or even 1 o'clock. So you're crossing midline and then bringing it all the way back around behind you to kind of like 4 or 5 o'clock, and being able to go to each one without losing your balance. Again, now we're trying to get into that more dynamic stability. Really, really important if you want to get up to that 10 seconds is being able to kind of get to those limits, those edges of where you feel stable without losing your balance. Again, now you can sway. There's nothing wrong with feeling like you're struggling a little bit. It's actually in the struggle that you're getting stronger. So actually fighting when you get a little bit off balance is far better than not losing your balance at all, believe it or not. So it's in the struggle that you're actually strengthening those muscles. And again, you can set these kind of anywhere around the clock. But again, I like to work kind of like that 4 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and then either 12 or 1 o'clock over here, and then back over, and then back behind. And then if you're really high level and you wanted to add another challenge, I like something just adding like a weight, like on one side, just again to really force your body to have to stay upright. I like the addition of the bungee cord because it does bounce a little bit, which adds an additional challenge. And then if you wanted to do some little squats, that'll also add an additional challenge because it's kind of bouncing around, so it will throw you off just a little bit. And again, just doing some really basic single leg squats. The other thing you can do is just walk with something like this. This will also challenge your balance quite a bit, or stepping across. You can see as it bounces, it does toss you around, and then bring it back, and again, cross and bring it back. You could do like a little lunge and come back up, and again, just trying to stay balanced on this foot without that weight kind of throwing you around. And then, of course, always important to work on single leg standing with different surfaces under your feet. So right here, what this kind of does is it kind of just forces your brain to have to think a little bit more quickly. When you're on a soft surface like this, your brain just doesn't get that information as quickly as to when you're off balance. So it does kind of sharpen your balance reactions a little bit more. So I always recommend kind of changing the surface that you're standing on to really, really fine tune that single leg standing balance, especially if you want to return to something like running. And then one last thing that's super, super important is adding something where your eyes have to track. They can't stay fixed on a stationary object, which is the easiest way to maintain our balance. So for those of you that are in the early stages, try focusing on a stationary object or something, a spot on the wall or something that's not moving. But of course, that's not real life, and our eyes are integral in maintaining our balance. So when our vision has to dart around, it does kind of disrupt the images that are going to the back of our brain and does disrupt our brain's ability to kind of keep us upright. So just add something, a ball, You could use a basketball, anything where you have to like track something in the air. You can see I'm just using one ball because I just tried juggling and I couldn't do it. But if you're higher level and you're coordinated, you could try juggling with two and add even a harder challenge to that one. But as you can see, it's not super easy. But anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you guys got some fresh ideas in here to help you get to that next level in your single leg standing balance. Remember, the goal is 10 seconds. Hopefully there's at least a couple of exercises in here that you can add to your program to start working towards that goal. If you like this video and you like getting exercises throughout the week, definitely head on over to Instagram, where we post 1 to 2 videos every single week to kind of help add to your home exercise program. If you're new to this channel and you haven't yet subscribed, definitely hit that subscribe button. It really does help this channel to reach more people. So if you want to help us out and support this channel, hit that subscribe button, but also turn on that notification bell so that you will get notified every time I upload new videos. Also, if you like these kinds of videos and you want access to my personal rehab exercise library that I use with my patients in person that has over 350 exercises in it, you can have access to that library. Link for that is in the description below by joining our membership program. In addition, with that membership, you do get access to our monthly lives where you can submit questions in advance and we meet once a month where I answer your questions. And you have access to our Discord channel, which is just another opportunity to build community with other people who are in a similar situation and where everyone can just support each other and answer each other's questions and just cheer each other on. So if you want more information about our Gold membership program, link for that is also in the description below. I enjoyed spending time with you all today, and I will see you in the next video. You all have a good day.